Hello everybody, Darren Cross here. Welcome to MBA 652. This is the assignment video from Module 7, and this is the last piece of the organizational behavior case that you've been working on for the past 6 weeks. So this last assignment is going to be comprised of all of the rest of the pieces, right? So we have, it's the solutions part here. So it includes this introductory paragraph, it includes this statement of goals, limiting factors, a description of the solution, and then the benefits and detriments of the solution, and finally a concluding statement. So let's talk about these elements, okay? First of all, you need to have an introduction statement. So you can say, and actually restate the problem, right? So you'll, oops, this is actually wrong. So I'm glad that this is how the template used to be. I'm glad that we're actually going over this. This part is going to be out of this. So hopefully if you're looking, well, first of all, you should be looking at this assignment video, but I want you to make this change. This is an introduction, right? So you're going to introduce the solutions part of the paper. So what you're going to do is you're going to restate the problem. So let me just go ahead and I know that this is, you don't want to watch people type, but oops. Of course, I feel the pressure of you guys watching me. So you're going to restate the problem that you talked about in Module 1. And then state that the solution, and then say, you know, in this section I will introduce a solution that satisfies the following goal, right? And so come up with the goal here that is a goal to solve the problem. So when you're stating the problem, look at the complexities of it as we've developed it along the way, right? So ABC Corporation has a quantifiable problem with this. It could be related to this behavior, and then you want to say something like, what are the elements of the Mars that informed this, right? So so as you state this, then say, what elements of the Mars model, influence the behavior that you stated. Okay, so going back over this, so you're gonna say, the problem here is this quantifiable problem. I think it might be related to this behavior. Motivation and role perception are the main things that influence this behavior. The solution to this problem is something that will meet the following goal. And then you restate the goal. You're going to state the goal from the standpoint of being able to solve your problem, right? So focus on the problem. Then you talk about the limiting factors. The limiting factors is a very important part of this. You can have, if time and money and resources were no issue, you could say whatever it is to solve that problem. But the truth of the matter is, inside of every organization, there are limiting factors. So you have to think about what limiting factors exist within the organization that you're actually talking about. What I can tell you is that time and money are always limited resources, and so those are always limited factors. In other words, when we make this solution, when we present this solution, it can't be a solution that has that requires infinite resources. What are the rules that this solution has to follow? How quick does it have to be done? How much resources do we use? Or, what is the limit of resources? And then are there some other issues? Sometimes you have issues of leadership. So the CEO might say, well, you can fix this problem, but make sure that it's a solution that doesn't involve this, or that absolutely involves this, right? So you're thinking about all of those things that must be present and those things that you have to get away from in order to solve this problem. These are the rules of the decision, basically. So an effective solution is going to be one that actually solves the problem. It removes the issue that we're having, and it operates within the bounds of the limiting factors that we have set. Sometimes it's regulations. Sometimes it's, it has to be something that, involves these certain people or something like that. If we're going international, there are some places that you can't operate a business unless you are partnered with someone who's a citizen of that country. So just things like that. Think about all of the rules that you must follow in order to have this solution. Then you go to the solution section, and in this section, what I want you to do is I want you to actually present a solution that actually is a well thought out solution that solves the problem. Remember the things that we talked about with the rational paradigm model, and that we usually think that we make perfect decisions and we go for the first thing that actually satisfies our solution, but don't do that. I want you to dig deeper, and I want you to think about what the solution might be, and then have a discussion of all of the things that are a benefit to your goal. What are the things inherent in this solution that benefits solving the problem and meeting the goal and actually operating within the scope of the limiting factors? And then what are the negative consequences of the solution? What are the things that we have to take into consideration? Who are the stakeholders that are impacted negatively by this particular decision or solution? What limiting factors does it fail to meet? How is it not, what are the things that you really have to deal with that are not really favorable? Okay? And then in the final piece, conclusion, this should be usually, actually I'm going to say this is a 1 paragraph, 3 to 5 sentence conclusion. Restate the problem, state the things that influence it, and state what the solution is and what you think should be the result of your solution, right? So ABC Corporation is experiencing the problem of blankety blank. Employee turnover might be influencing this problem. Motivation and role perception are issues that are highly influencing employee turnover. The solution proposed in this paper is that blah, 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 blah. I think that this should solve the problem. Okay? So if you stay super focused, don't add any kind of stuff in here that doesn't actually, address what we're after, I think that you'll be in good shape. Okay? But as always, if you have any questions or problems, feel free to reach out to me. Good luck, everyone.